Hey YouTube, coming at you with a Great League team from your Devi who even says like just a fun team to mess with fairy isn't into the top left. You can see that you're triple weak to fairy. Using counter on Urshifu for any ice, normal, steel types. Try to catch on Regidrago, but eventually stopped due to its horrible defense stat. Even with the high HP, I found doing so is usually just not worth it. Cheers and howdy from Texas. So yeah, so we'll look at a couple things here. I'm more interested in the Urshifu. I don't think I've showcased one yet, just to kind of see how it plays. And then yeah, let's see if I can analyze Regidrago again for the second time, because I was a little confused with how good or not good it is the first time around. Okay, Ferrothorn I'd say is a good lead. They get out into Typhlosion. Going into the Urshifu, this is just a Thunder Punch. Okay, so you can take a Thunder Punch. It is a yeah, but that is adding up really quick. So already hate a lot of stuff about this Pokemon. In particular, these it doesn't seem super bulky. You know, Incinerate's a good move. Typhlosion's more attack heavy. So taking like 4 Incinerates plus a Thunder Punch, it's not surprising that you got taken out. Yes, why did you not go Regidrago the first time against a fire Pokemon? That would probably have been better. But gonna take a Mirror Shot and a Gastrodon in the back. So they are pretty weak to Moltres in the front. So you should still be okay here. Just kind of sweep with Moltres if you want. Maybe even just shield up this Body Slam and keep running. Yeah, I would too. You have such a good matchup here. So throwing this fly before they get to another Body Slam, this will grab a shield or take out. Grab the shield, try to instant swap, but it was CMP. You'll live a Body Slam, non-stab. And you can definitely live a few resisted Mud Slaps. They do get to move on the Reggie, it's just a Body Slam, that's fine. Dragon Energy here. Resisted on the Ferrothorn, so let's see how much it does. Okay, still above 50%. They do throw pretty quick, which is nice. Bullet Seed will be resisted, and then I don't think they can bullet. It's going to be close, actually. You're still... you have a few HP, and I think that's all you need on the Moltres, because it would be a very, very aggressive... yeah, you need like 5 or 6 Bullet Seeds, so that was not going to happen. So do end up taking that, thankfully, because you have a lot of play in Moltres there. Dragonite. Looks like a Dragon-tailed Dragonite. So the damage is adding up. Going to shield the move. And instant swapping to try and Dragon Breath down. Eventually getting hit with that fairy. Just going for what? Breaking Swipe? Maybe just hoping to lower its attack. Not getting it though. Dedenne is a killer for you here, because you have absolutely nothing for it. They actually just go Parabolic Charge. But here comes the second one, so they're just going to boost their defense times 2. And this is basically a top left. Okay, they went Parabolic Charge does not take out on the Reggie for the second time. So do get off a move, but it resisted at that. Coming in to do a resisted fly. Resisted Sucker Punches. They do shield and then give up Switch. And then have a Gastrodon in the back. Holy smokes. Okay. Getting off a fly, they're going to let this go. Still thinking that their win cause may be to Dedenne, knowing that you've shown Moltres and Reggie already. They maybe try aggressive farm down here and not going to get it. They have some energy, but I don't think it's worth it. I think you just come to Dedenne and get ahead on the energy here. Oof, I would not have done that. Coming in Reggie just to eat the move. And then Urshifu is going to... man, the counts are slow on counter here, eh? I assume it's just a Parabolic Charge and you can live, but not going to take a chance. You are double weak to Fairy. Counters are slowly adding up here. Brick Break is a terrible move, but it does lower its defense. Okay. Counter down. Moltres against Primeape. This is actually not super amazing, because Sucker Punch is resisted. And if it's close combat, yeah, I'm going to respect the close combat and dip. Oh, it's an Ice Punch. That is also just as bad. Going Brave Bird, you do not need to go Brave Bird. In fact, I would go Fly because they are likely to shield this. I mean, one Fly is enough to take out. First, Fly is enough to take out. It's a fighter, it's a Primeape, it's at 50% health, and it's a Fly. So you do not need to go Brave Bird. That's for sure. Yeah, assume it was going to take... You're also double weak to Ice on this team. Again, this team is just not one to put together anyways, but... Yeah, I don't... Maybe you just go Reggie or Urshifu. Like, it's kind of not a great Pokemon in the back there. Eventually get into the Break. So you said you use counter for Ice and... You counter for Ice and Steals and stuff, which on your team makes sense because you have glaring weaknesses all over the place there. The recommended moveset on this thing is Sucker Punch. And you are Dark, so you get Stab on that. I mean, you get Stab on the same type of attack bonus on the Fighting as well. But energy per... Actually, the damage per turn on Sucker Punch and counter is the exact same, 4.8 and 4.8. The only difference is, counter is only 3 energy and Sucker Punch is 3.5. And yes, I know you said why, and you have Sucker Punch on Moltres here. But yeah, I think maybe it would have been interesting to see this thing showcased as a Sucker Punch user. Because with that energy, you actually get to the Brick Breaks in 12. 12, 12, 12, 10. As opposed to 16 and 14, which I think with the damage of Sucker Punch with a quicker Brick Break, maybe it has a bit more play. 136.5 attack, 97 defense, 121 stamina. So maybe it has a bit more play with the Sucker Punch there. You also have a Close Combat and Dynamic Punch. They're saying Dynamic Punch as opposed to Close Combat. Dynamic Punch is a pretty good move now, eh? 45 for 108, 2.4, 2.67 still for Close Combat, but lowers your defense times 2. Dynamic Punch, an interesting move. Yeah, these are... So, if you're wondering, like, first of all, if you're going to use this Pokemon, I can do the analysis 3 minutes into the... actually, 5 minutes into these battles here. Yeah, don't use counter. Use Sucker Punch. Break 40 for 48. So you have one good... So what can this Pokemon do to get better? Will this Pokemon ever be usable? Stat product, not good at all. 136.5, 97 defense, 121 stamina for 1600 overall. So it's like... It's more of a glass cannon, but it's not even in like your 140s glass cannon, which is where I would want to be if I'm that low on the defense and stamina. Like Primeape. Primeape's got the 99 defense, 115 stamina, but it's at least at 140. Right? So I think that you need, for your defense and stamina to be in that low, I think your attack probably needs to be a bit higher than 136 already. So I think right off the bat has problems with its stats. Typing, Fighting Dark. You know, Fighting Dark's kind of a unique one. We saw it on Pangoro. Like, why would you use this over Pangoro? You wouldn't right now. You're double weak to Fairy, single weak to Fighting and Flying. But then double resisting Dark, single resisting Ghost, Rock, and Psychic. So the typing's always been kind of like interesting. In terms of moveset, Sucker Punch is obviously a fantastic move. 4.8 damage per turn, 3.5 energy per turn. So Sucker Punch is already one of the better fast moves in the game. So I think you just run with that. I like the fact that you do have a nuke in close combat, or even Dynamic Punch is a good move. I guess the only problem is because your attack is at 136 and not like at that 140. Close combat still probably nuke, but Dynamic Punch wouldn't. But maybe the Sucker Punches add up enough. I was gonna say, if you want a Pokemon like this to work, you probably need it with something like Karate Chop. Like, give me a 4 to 4.5 energy per turn charging move that I can nuke close combats. And then the second move, I think this thing is also honestly lacking from a second move. I understand Brick Break its strength being able to just lower your opponent's defense and then just sucker punch you're down, but you don't have the defense and stamina to do that with most of these. With this Pokemon, you'd have to use shield advantage to even have that strategy be viable. So what you have to do is run it like a quick fast move with a nuke charge move like close combat and a second good move, maybe payback. If we had a 4.5 energy, that would be what, 9, and it's 60, so it'd still take 7, so 14. It'd still take 14 turns to get to a payback. I feel like this thing's missing a better fast, like the stats aren't there for Sucker Punch in my opinion. I think you need a quick charging fast move, I think, with a second better move to make this thing viable. I don't like the Break, Dynamic Punch, Close Combat, Payback combo here. So put it in your bench. See if we get a new move with it, and we'll see from there. And Reggie, let me look up the, as you can see, I'm kind of ignoring the battles because this is just kind of a dumb team. And they know it. They said it was just a fun and double weak to ice, triple weak to fairy. You're just all sorts of just problems with this team, which they know. So there's no point of talking about the battles per se. It's more about the showcase of these Pokemon. Reggie. Let me go look to these comments of the Reggie one because I asked about the defense and stamina here. And for those of you who missed that video, this Pokemon has very, very, very similar stats to Guzzlord. And that is an insanely low defense, like insanely low, 62.7, but a very, very, very high stamina, 241. So it's very similar to a Guzzlord. And I asked in the video, because I remember when we were initially talking about, not initially, who's we? Initially when Guzzlord came out, and we were like, this is such a weird super low defense, super high stamina. And it was one of these two statements is true. The defense either takes the fast move damage or it takes the charge move damage, and the stamina takes the other one. And that's what I asked. I'm like, is that correct? And there's a bunch of comments. And I want to just read through some of them because some of them started. So I'm going to read all of them because I don't know which ones are right. But CJ Flodden, sorry. In the main series gains, and I'm assuming in Pokemon Go as well, your HP stat, stamina, has zero bearing on the damage you take. It only increases how much HP you actually have. In the main series games, this is more apparent because it actually shows how much HP your Pokemon has. In Pokemon Go, we just get the bar, which is obviously has a number attached to it. You just can't see it. However, your HP stat is not a factor at all in the equation of how much HP an attack will do. Other side, the defense and special defense in the main series game, defense in Pokemon Go, is a direct factor in the equation for how much HP an attack will do. A very simple version would look like this. Attack-based power plus attacker's attack stat divided by defender's defense stat equals 50 HP. If the defending Pokemon has 100 HP total, then it's obviously 50%. If they have 200, it'll be 25%. So something with a high defense might take 20 damage from that, but have less HP as well. Reggie and Guzzlord might take 75, but they have like 300 HP to offset it. Okay, that is like the perfect explain like I'm 5 explanation. So even though the defense is so low that you theoretically are taking a lot of damage from it, because your stamina is so high, you have a lot of HP, it still may not look like that ratio is huge, because even though you're taking a lot of damage, your HP is high, so that ratio of how much damage you're taking as a percentage, it may not be as high. Liquid Weapon, hello, nice meeting you at GoFest as well. So Nathaniel, even though his second comment says, anyone correct me if I'm wrong, says high stamina usually makes it easier to tank fast moves and high defense makes it easier to tank charge moves. High stamina, low defense might take 1 extra damage with each fast move. If you have like 200 defense, even 4 damage per turn. KOs like below stamina of 100 would be KO'd by fast moves if you lower the defense by an equivalent amount. Okay, so I think what they're saying in this, so what this analysis is saying is, and this is where the logic comes in, and it does actually relate to number one. Because if you are saying that stamina is HP, a low stamina here would be KO'd faster by fast moves than it would lower defense. And that's why they say, and that's why the analysis here says high stamina usually makes it easier to tank fast moves, and high defense makes it easier to tank charge moves. And this is my analysis, right? Because if you have that fast move damage output, that's just doing raw number of damage, that is affecting your HP. So that will just take out the HP. So if you have a lower HP, like if you have a low stamina, that HP is just going to go down very quick with fast moves. Whereas if you have a low defense, then you're going to be hit harder with the charge moves. So I think I'm getting it. Jane Taylor. The reason the amount it can tank feels inconsistent is partially because of damage rounding and breakpoints. One turn moves that don't round up and don't hit too hard do nearly nothing when you have a high HP, where if you have like 50 HP and 200 defense is the only does 1 damage to you, still dies after 50 hits. It's kind of dependent, like IV breakpoints that flips matchups where you have a higher attack IV, it rounds up 1 damage, so the fast move. The breakpoints, so breakpoints, this is the one thing I do know. If you have a certain IVs, if you have a certain IV, you get these things called breakpoints. And if your IV of the attack is above a certain level, your raw damage of your fast move goes up 1 more. So that's why breakpoints matter in some of these matchups. Which is why against the Altaria, it still felt fairly well, even though you're using the same fast move and hitting super effective, even though Altaria has a higher stat proc, and how in the Vigoroth matchup, the counters did a lot of damage because with the attack stat, it does 10 damage per counter due to the low defense, or easily more if you have bad IVs, which such a low defense is more common for Pokemon to be able to squeeze out a bit more damage with a bit more attack, and with higher defense, the breakpoints are usually more specific and further between. Okay, this is getting very intense. For example, a level 18.5 15-0-15 Regidrago would take 12 damage from each counter from a 15-3-3 Vigoroth instead of 10 damage from the perfect IV version, which is already a 20% difference. Right. So this analysis was getting way more into the breakpoint theory of it all, which makes sense. I like this series idea from Poison Anthony. Fun idea for a series. You could take a viewer's team, watch a replay of their game, and then look through their box and try to look through, it says their box, but maybe your box, and try and doctor the team to be better. Then you could play the improved team yourself and see if it's better or not. So it's basically like get a viewer submit a team, they put a team together, and then like I analyze it, be like, it could be better if you play it like this with this Pokemon and then play it myself. It could be fun. And yeah, so that's interesting. So I think I get it. And this is so like, so the question in the ending is, should this, I get it. I get what everything's saying now. Should this affect how you play? And I think the answer is, to a certain extent, yes. Right? Because if you have certain Pokemon here, like your Regidragos and your Guzzlords and stuff, with higher HP is essentially a stamina, is essentially saying you have high HP, so the fast moves that are being done to you are not going to be a lot. So I guess theoretically, and again, it's not that easy when it comes to matchups and giving up switch and stuff like that, but lead your Regidrago lead your Guzzlord with this high stamina, and then catch the charge move on something with a high defense. Because the defense can absorb charge moves better. So what does like a Azumarill have? 134 defense, 190 stamina. What does like Bastiodon have? Because Bastiodon feels like a tank. 246. There we go. The stamina on Bastiodon is only 138, which is why counters and stuff can add up. But its defense is 246, which is why it feels like it can just tank charge moves. I mean, don't use a Guzzlord Bastiodon. I don't think that's a good team. But I mean, theoretically, you could just take the fast moves on a high stamina Pokemon and catch the charge move on a defensive Pokemon. Interesting. So thank you for the comments. I think it definitely helps me wrap my mind around the defense for stamina and what it means. And then, yeah, when you want to go more intensive into breakpoints, like that's a whole nother ball game. Like I knew the attack stat breakpoint of your Pokemon, of like either your Pokemon, whoever's attacking, your Pokemon attacking or your opponent's Pokemon attacking. I knew that attack stat had certain breakpoints where the IVs changed how much of the raw damage it did. I didn't know in particular that it would also, the IVs of yours would be a different breakpoint. But I guess there is defensive breakpoints too. Right? I know that there is attack breakpoints, but there is defensive breakpoints too. So I'm just gonna throw in a random matchup here. Is there defensive? Oh, bulk points. If Pokemon Go damage is dealt in whole numbers, a breakpoint is when a Pokemon has a high enough attack to deal one more damage with their fast move, which I just explained. A bulk point is when a Pokemon has high enough defense to take one less damage from the opponent's fast move. Defense. So why now I'm just okay. Next question, if you watch all the way to the end of this thinking. I understood the attack stat. I now understand a bulk point is when a Pokemon has high enough defense stat to take one less damage, which is why in the example, I'm sorry, I already closed it, but is why in the example, the user said like a whatever attack with a 0 defense, and just to very much explain that the lower bulk point causes you another damage to be taken. So that would be the difference of the 10 counter versus the 12 counter. Okay, so that all makes sense. So then my question is, do bulk points matter? I just want to put in something. I just want to put in like I don't know if this is going to work. I'm just going to put in a Pokemon in the Great League meta with like let's just use a random Pokemon. Clodsire. Let's give Clodsire a 0 0 0 0. That's really bad. Wait. How do I want to do this? No, 0 0 15. 0 0 15. And then a Clodsire with 0 15 0. Starting to rain outside. And the 0 15 0. Yeah, the 0 15 0 picks up 2 wins, Annihilate and Corsola. You lose the mirror match against Clodsire, but your average is way better, 10 average. So I guess you should start prioritizing these. So, and I know someone commented on, because I asked about my functional hundo. because again, it comes to a rounding thing where one of them. I know someone. I can find that. I'll find the comment for next video. I know this is too much rambling. Because my first thought was like, should I now be focusing way more on the defensive IV here as opposed? Because I mean, one IVs generally don't matter as much, but if I had the option between like a 2, 15, 11 and like a 2, 5, 15, I think I should take the higher defense now because it seems to that bulk point is going to come in more. So I think I need to start prioritizing defense. And then the other thing I was going to ask is I asked about the functional hundo because I caught 2 Zemenzetas. One was a 15, 15, 14, and one was a 15, 14, 15. And I asked, what does it matter? And then someone says it's a rounding thing, but it also potentially, I don't know if 14 versus 15 is going to be like a break point here, but I think they said it was like a rounding. One of the numbers get rounded and the other one doesn't. So you have to do 15, 15, 14 to make it a functional hundo and not the 15, 14, 15. See, these are the types of things that, this is why I always love Ryan Swag, who did this type of stuff. But interesting. This is definitely going to, maybe I'll do a whole video on this because I think this is so cool. Like it's cool that defensive breakpoints, difference between defense and stamina, what they can take and why, how it affects overall matchups here. Like your average of a 0-0-15 Clodsire versus 0-15-0 Clodsire, like I said, is one more win, but the average difference is 487 versus 497. It's over 10 points difference. And it comes into like some of these, like the Shadow Scizor, you lose both, but the 0-0-15 loses at a 127 and the 0-15-0 loses at a 452. Like that is a significant difference in the loss here. Was that the main one? It looks like that was like one of the only ones that's, yeah, except for like the wins, right? You went from a Corsola loss to a win. And then the Annihilate win too. Interesting. Anyways, that's enough rambling. I hope you are having a good weekend. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.